କ୍ଲାସଟା କ'ଣ କରିବା, ଆରମ୍ଭ କରିବା ନା କରିବାନି ନା କ'ଣ କରିବା? କ'ଣ କ୍ଲାସ୍ ହବ ନା ହବନି? ସନ୍ତୋଷ ବାବୁ, ଆଜି କ୍ଲାସ୍ ହବ ନା ହବନି? So yesterday we had discussed about financial management. Now this paper is on public systems management, and the public system management has certain typical features like material management and logistic management. So today we will discuss in unit 2 about the logistic managements. Yesterday we had discussed about the financial management. So let us discuss about the logistic management or material management. What is it all about? So basically this logistic management is regarding the manufacturing or production of goods and services, and to procure those goods and services, to transfer those goods and services from producers to consumers. Now, this every organization does which manufactures any products. So for this, what we require is appropriate planning, implementing, and controlling the flow of goods, its storage and effectiveness with which uh, things can be done properly, and the goods can be transferred from the point of origin to the consumers or the point of consumption. So this is a very significant part of public systems management. It includes sourcing, procurement, production planning, scheduling, packaging, um, assembling all the aspects of this logistic management, and how to deliver to the customers. Now, with the development of information and development of IT, information technology, things have improved a lot. Now you can track your products. If you have order for your medicines or your books or your dresses or any product, you can track your product, where the product is, at what place the product, either what is the position of the transfer of the product. So this, in this unit, we will discuss about the significance of logistic management, its meaning in public system management, and the meaning of inventory, inventory control, the techniques of inventory control, and the infrastructure required for logistic management. What do we have in India? All these we will discuss in this unit. So as I have told you, it's just a transportation of goods from one place to another. Basically, you can say from the producer to the consumer. So logistic management is all about to allow the goods to overcome time and space. Suppose something, since it's a globalized world, suppose something is produced in New York, it has to come to a place in India. So that means how the, it's a fairly long distance. It will take a lot of time. So how this goods can be, how these goods can be delivered to the customers in due time, and how this space can be covered. Like suppose somebody has a birthday, you are ordering something in e-commerce platform. You want that product is to be delivered at some at a place in United States where your brother is staying or your sister is staying. So that means you are just exploring different platforms which will provide you facilities to overcome this time and space. And on the scheduled day, on the due day, the flower bouquet or the cake or any gift will be delivered to your uh, to your relative or to your friend or to your brother, whatever it is. So for this, it requires transportation management, fleet manager management, handling of materials, warehousing, inventory management, and in interconnectivity. You can, if it takes time for you to deliver the product, then it is required that you have to take the help of some other agency which is there in United States, which will also take care of the quality that you desire and will be delivered there. So various components of logistic management are product design, plant location. Do you want to have subsidiaries at different places? Choice of markets, production structure, dealer distribution network design, location of warehouses, plant layout and logistics, allocation decision, production planning, inventory management and stocking levels, transportation, packaging, material handling, and warehouse operation. So now I think by now you have been able to understand all these things. And the most important part, which is the 15th one, is the finance part. How the money is to be transferred. So that is how today, we have the banking platforms. Banks have created these platforms. So we are able to deliver these products. So now just think about it. A manufacturer of a large molded plastic water tank has transport costs as a significant production of the product cost. Now, if the plastic water tank, it takes a fairly larger space, and if you are sending that in a particular transport vehicle, then the product cost enhances. So accordingly, you have to design the product so that you can put smaller size tanks one after another inside one tank, and so that is how larger sized ones, resulting in reduced transportation costs. Now if you can just imagine the way pack containers, plastic containers are sold in malls, where when you open the container you find a larger container, then a smaller size container, then another smaller size, then another smaller size. That means you might be having 8 containers but occupying only a single space that is required for the larger container. So in your study material, you find different examples for that. So you'll be able to understand it. Now, who are the actors in this logistic management? Number one is the shipper who transforms the products. That is users of the logistics. Second is the who provides this logistics. One is the user of the logistic who provides this logistic. That means, suppose a cake company. The cake company is the user of logistic. Then who provides this logistics? So the carriers, like it can be sent through rail, road, air, water, pipeline, ropeway, whatever it is. Water means you can send it through ship. Pipeline means when you are sending petroleum or oils, you send it through pipeline, like that. Terminal operators like ports, where you receive those ships and all. Warehouse providers, freight forwarders. And who is the regulator of logistics? As I told you, government is the umpire, is just steering everything. So so the government should make rules and regulations to regulate the logistics. The very fact that there are so many actors, one who uses the logistic, the supplier of logistic, so that there is a better, so to ensure better coordination among them, what you find is that there must be a regulator of logistic. Often this is lacking, leading to inefficient logistics management. Proactive managerial attention in this area by organizations uh, results in reducing logistic costs and improving customer services. Now, what the important legislations that affect logistics? Let us, for example, in the Indian context, the sales tax, the local sales tax. Suppose some product is coming from Maharashtra to Odisha, and when it enters to Odisha, Odisha imposes some local sales tax. Then the consignment tax, where someone provides goods to a third party to sell on their behalf. Suppose United States is making an agreement with India on behalf of the company. India, another company in India will sell the Apple computers. Excise duties that is imposed on every product. Octrine entry tax when it enters from one city to another, or from there are check gates where these trucks are being when the things goods are transported, so try entry tax has to be paid. Use of packaging material, modified value added tax, which is included within the sales tax. Also, Motor Vehicles Act, where cha- some charges are made as per the Motor Vehicles Act. Then distribution policies. Central sales tax is a tax on interstate commodity sales. Consignment tax is a measure to collect tax even on the interstate stock transfers, counters the advantage that the less industrialized states have. Excise duty is payable when the product leaves the factory. Excise duties have an influence of increasing finished goods inventory uh, rather than pipeline, warehouse, or dealer inventories. Okay, so regulations regarding use of packaging material, especially jute for commodities like food grains, sugar, cement, are made to protect the jute farmers. This has implications on increased storage and transit losses, since better packaging materials such as high density polyethylene cannot be much used. So distribution policies of various kinds are imposed by the government in an attempt to meet different developmental objectives. Like suppose allocation of commodities in sectors like fertilizer distribution, essential commodities for the poor. So government there rationalizes the logistic arrangement and subsidizes also, and accordingly uh, product of the price of the product is equalized and rationalized. Now, what is inbound logistic and outbound logistic? Inbound logistics is the organization that procures raw materials, and outbound logistic is the distributing the products to the physically distributing the products to the customers from the factory. I know if you read all these things, you can, those who have a MBA background or knowledge of commerce, they will be able to understand it properly. Now, nature of ownership of the organization influences logistic management. In government sector, the railways, the public works department, the water supply and sewerage boards, and the various public sector undertakings such as electricity boards, transport authorities have to have sound logistic management for both internal management efficiency, better services delivery to the public. Now, private sector can have quality logistic managements because they emphasize on quality to get a better attention from the customers. So single versus multiple plants, when you you are using bulk products or something of that sort, there could be various subdimensions here, like bulk versus packaged products, perishable versus non-perishable products, durable versus non-durable products, single versus multiple products, industrial versus consumer products. When you are handling a bulk product like cement, It is quite different from handling packaged products like cosmetics. Shipment size is an important decision for packaged products. In the case of perishable products like fruits, the total time from production to consumption is critical and needs to be minimized, while in non perishable products like stationery, conventional practices of inventory management would be sufficient. So, this is how one has to understand the nature of the product. Uh, Made to stock versus made to order, so that you understand it. Made to stock, which the products are made to, decisions related to inventory, transportation, and distribution network are more significant for an organization in which the products are made to stock rather than made to order. For made to order products, it is usually the scheduling of internal operations. Now, what is this inventory control? Now, the definition of inventory is the amount of raw materials, fuels, lubricants, spare parts, and some semi processed materials to be stocked for the smooth running of a plant. Inventory is defined as an ideal resource. Suppose a computer, mm, the IT room where we have computers. What inventory should be stored for the continuous running of the department? Take for the National Informatics Center. So, what type? Uh, if it is a government sector, then we can just think of the public choice approach, where the bureaucrat is not thinking about higher cost, but just thinking about doing the work efficiently and manages the cost, and keeps in store many spare parts. But the private sector takes, the private sector just manages how cost can be minimized, so it might keep in store lesser products. So, in because inventory is defined as an ideal resource, it is necessary, but at the same time it adds to your cost. So, what are these inventories? Raw materials, spare parts, stores, works in progress, oil and lubricant, semi finished and finished goods. Inventory control system is an important part of public system management, and fixed assets need long term capital, inventory needs working capital. Lending institutions or financial institutions who give loan, they cater to the first type of requirement, while commercial banks meet the short term requirement of working capital of an industrial enterprise. Uh, then comes the excessive investment in inventories reduces profits in the cost of carrying inventories. So this has to be, thus the effects of inventory control on flexibility and the level of investment required in inventories represent two sides of the same coin. Then inventory control techniques. The first one is the method of inventory control technique is economic order quantity, EOQ. The basic idea is that too small a batch or order quantity will involve low holding costs of inventory, what will involve significant cost in ordering, setting up, and transporting. So, EOQ, the too large a quantity will swing the balance the other way. So, EOQ can be determined in terms of inventory carrying cost, cost of the item, demand rate, all these things. One of the universal characteristics of inventory is that a small number of items carried in stock account for a large proportion of total monetary value, and large number of items add only marginally to the costs. So ABC analysis, this is very important, where you it can come to you as a short note. The ABC analysis, popular known as always better control, based on the principle of vital few and trivial many, is a method of grouping or dividing the regular items into three categories. A is high consumption value, B is medium consumption value, C is low consumption value, according to the value of the annual consumption or usage in rupees. According to this, in an organization, for example, in a hospital, there are some items that are very important which consume a large part of the budget. These are A items, while B are of medicine type of item that cost reasonable amount, while C items are those which are not that important. So one has to categorize the different items in terms of ABC analysis. Uh, The importance of this tool lies in the fact that it directs attention to the key items. The term ABC means that the high value items are considered in the A category, medium value in B category, and low value in C category. Then comes the vital, essential, and desirable analysis. Uh, VED analysis. Now, these are I again and again I'm saying these are important points for short notes. So this analysis is made by the mechanical engineering departments to consider the vitality of an item, its effect on production and other services. It is used for classifying maintenance spares, denoting the essentiality of stocking spares. See, we are talking about inventory. We are talking about the storage of spare parts, lubricants like that. So vital, essential, and desirable. Suppose a tailor who has 6 machines, and some parts which are vital for running of the machines, they are called as vital. Some are essential. Suppose the lubricant, to lubricate the machine again and again, the lubricant is vital, so you may call it as essential. Some might be desirable, like some small parts which are without which the machine can operate, but if you have that part, that is also good. So this is called the VED analysis, vital, essential, and desirable analysis. Mm, uh, V stands for vital items, without which the function of the organizations are adversely affected. E stands for essential items, and D stands for desirable items, which are necessary but do not cause any immediate loss in production and can be dispensed with. So I have already given you the example of a tailoring shop. Now, we somehow or other we have discussed about all the aspects of logistic management, which is a very critical part of the public systems management. And now we will move to the picture in India. How this logistic infrastructure is maintained in India. Okay. So the logistic management concerns itself with two principal actors: who supply it and who uses it. That means the producer of goods who uses the logistic arrangement and the people who provide the logistic arrangement. In India, the supply side to effective logistics is characterized by poor infrastructure. Like if the farmers are not able to store their products because we lack warehouses, godowns in different areas. So now we will come to the point: who are the suppliers? The Indian Railways. In 1997-98, the Indian Railways carried nearly 12 million passengers per day and lifted more than 1.2 million metric tons of freight traffic daily on a network spread over something around 6,000, 7,000 stations. But gradually, this is uh, enhancing. And Indian Railways waits for days together for since the wagon utilization is going up, the time taken for the customer to get a wagon is increasing with attendant uncertainty. So railways do not find a place in the consumer goods and durables market. They only find a place in the ball segment. It is a major player. So therefore, the Indian Railways are now competing with the uh, road supplier. I mean, you can say the roadways. The roadways are classified in national highways and state highways. Commercial vehicles are able to run uh, run only 250 kilometers per day on an average as compared to 600 kilometers per day in the developed countries. The accident rates are higher. Economic losses due to poor conditions of roads are too many. So therefore, there is a need to see the what are the problems. Now you can just compile it. Commercial vehicles are not available, and their condition is not that good, so speed is less, and uh, accident rates are more, and economic losses due to poor condition of road. Good roads are also not there. So therefore, there is a need to create expressways to allow for rapid, unhindered, and safe movement of fast-moving vehicles. So today we are talking about expressways. Then we have truck companies and truck operators. Truck companies are marketing companies, while the truck operators are generally owner driven, operating in a competitive environment. So, due to the low margins, truckers tend to overload for short term financial results. Uh, there, there, there are inordinate delays at checkpoints where the octroi or entry taxes are collected. Uh, so, therefore, there is a call for uh, truckings call for having rapid movement of goods. Trucking serves the consumer goods, consumer durables, industrial products almost entirely. Uh, okay, then the shipping companies. The average age of the Indian fleet is 15 years, which compares favorably with the average age of the world fleet. So, issues facing the shipping industry are technology upgradation, increased container carrying capacity, and focus on coastal shipping. Now, major ports account for 95% of total traffic that is handled. We have no minor ports, we have major ports which cater to the shipping sector, airlines and airports, uh, pipelines for petroleums and iron ore pellets and like that, and material hand. These are the transport and civil sectors. Now then, there is the warehousing. Scientific warehousing is largely provided by public sector organizations like the Central Warehousing Corporation and State Warehousing Corporation. Private sector has their own warehousing where they use it. Important decisions related to warehousing are to have your own warehousing or to take somebody's warehousing on rent. Should you have the centralized warehousing or should you have the decentralized warehousing? When you have decentralized warehousing, the number of warehouses matters because you can store your products and you can deliver the products without any delay in time. You can overcome that time and space. Capacity of warehouses, location of the warehouses, designing of the warehouses, what type of technology you are using to keep the products in good shape and quality. So these are important so far as warehousing is concerned. Warehousing actually helps to overcome the constraints of time and space. Banks are a key infrastructure in the cash flow part of the supply chain management. Quick clearance of checks, advances against letters of credit, insurance against payment defaults are essential services. Banks are making increasing use of information technology, mechanized clearance of checks. Okay. IT plays a key role in improving the service levels of any company. Electronic transfer of documents through electronic data interchange, online transaction processing, and other network services are beginning to be commercially available. So, now you can make out how this logistic management is concerned with operations and coordination of activities involved in movement of goods. Uh, it relates to effective movement of goods and storage of materials. We discussed about warehousing, effective movement of goods like transportation and storage. The holistic approach to logistic operations aims at integrating the physical distribution, manufacturing, and procurement of materials into a simple logistical process. The effectiveness of logistic management is measured in terms of total costs involved and the performance of the system. So, this is how we understand the logistic management. Now, just see, uh, remember the important key concept because logistic management is today highly important because many people are preferring to buy their products through e-commerce. So these things are very important. So remember it. The typical questions like bed analysis, economic order quantity, e-commerce, and ABC analysis. So I hope you understand the logistic management unit. Uh, Now we should start the unit 13. What is there in Unit 13? Just have a look at it. The Unit 13 is talking about strategic management. What is the strategic management? Let us discuss about it. Public administration, as as I have told you, it is an interdisciplinary perspective. It has borrowed concepts and principles from other disciplines and tried to understand the nature and complexities of management of public affairs. The concept of strategic management is a part of business administration courses, and it is a part of practices of corporate sector, hence a part of corporate governance. Now today corporate governance is a part of public administration systems. So strategic management does not replace traditional management activities such as planning, budgeting, implementing, monitoring, reporting, and controlling. Just remember about these things. It integrates them into a broader framework, taking into account the external environment and internal organizational capabilities and organizations' overall purpose. So, strategic management takes into account the external environment, the internal organizational capabilities, and the overall goal of the organizations or the overall organizational goal. So, let us understand what is the strategic management concept. Strategic management is the process of specifying an organization's objectives, developing policies and plans to achieve these objectives, and allocating resources so as to implement the plan. Just remember it. Uh, Specifying the organization's objective, number one. Developing policies and plans to achieve this objective, number two, and allocating resources to implement the plan. Okay, so basically, it is the highest level of managerial activity, usually performed at the top with the help of the executive team. It provides overall direction to the whole enterprise. Various schools of thought have emerged in strategic planning. So basically, the term strategy implies there is some volatility in the environment. There is some the environment is volatile, or you can say there is some instability in the environment. Uh, and we cannot help. Like right now there is a crisis situation in our country. We have nothing to do with the crisis, in the sense that we have no capability to change the situation. So how can we deal with the situation? We would only have to develop one plan and stick to it. So Alvin Toffler in 1970 described this trend as trend towards a accelerated rate of change. He illustrated how social and technological norms had shorter lifespans with each generation, and in his book The Third Wave, Toffler, Alvin Toffler, which was published in 1980, characterizes the shift from relative stability to shortening of such periods, and consequently relentless change, a defining feature of the third phase of civilization. What are the first two phases of civilization? first phase was the agricultural phase, where there was slow movement. No, no, the change was happening not that rapid. Second is the industrial change, industrial phase of civilization, and third is the uh, post-industrial phase of civilization. In such a world, there is a need for planning for a planning model that helps in anticipating the future and using this anticipation in conjunction with an analysis of organization, its culture, mission, strengths, and weaknesses to define the strategic issues. For example, subsidy for farmers may be a contentious issue, but for a developing country like India, subsidy is necessary for a poverty stricken farmer. Subsidy to a farm producer in developed country is just a subsidy to farm producers in developed countries often given to make them competitive in the world market. So now I hope you understand this. Uh, Minchbards and Waters believe that strategic planning is at the deliberate end of the continuum between deliberate and emergent strategies. Deliberate strategy is consciously intended, designed, and controlled. In contrast to emergent strategy, which is uncontrolled and unintended. It is argued that more stable the environment and more centralized the control, there are more chances of employing a deliberate strategy. Okay. So at the organizational level, we have adopted institutional pluralism as a part of new public management. A notion of strategy is implicit in this new public management, which accounts for efficiency, transparency, and accountability. Okay. In 1987, another understanding developed, and around 1987, we had all the international financial institutions had already floated the idea of structural adjustment program, and we were focusing more on pro- profits, more on quality, and considering the citizen as a consumer. There should be no compromise on quality. So Bauman and Us stated that strategic management is all about process of making and implementing strategic decision. It is about the process of strategic change. The match, it is the match an organization makes between its own resources and threats. So, strategic management can also be referred to as a technique that can be used to create a favorable future for an organization. Now, when did this idea of strategic management originated? This idea of strategic management originated in the 1950s and 1960s. The no main contributors to this idea are Alfred Sandler, Philip Selznick, Igor Ansaf, and Peter Drucker. Alfred Sandler recognized the importance of coordinating various aspects of management under one all encompassing strategy. While many thinkers like Fayol had discussed the importance of coordination in the organization, the discourse was not related to strategy. Uh, Today, however, it has been observed that Strategy flows from the structure. Philip Selznick favored matching the organization's internal factors with external environment circumstances. So Philip Selznick developed what is known as SWOT analysis. What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities and threats for an organization? Basically, Harvard Business School is credited for developing this concept. Eager Unsuf built on Sandler's work by adding a range of strategic concepts, inventing a whole new vocabulary. Uh, in his book Corporate Strategy, he developed gap analysis, which is still, and the strategy is meant to reducing this gap. Contribution of Peter Drucker is the concept which he floated in 1954. He propounded a theory of management based on objectives, which later evolved into theory of management by objectives or MBO. Now, what is this MBO concept? According to Drucker, setting the objective and monitoring the organization's progress towards that objective should not be at the top level only, but it should be at every level. That means every small section of the organization should set the objective and should monitor the section's goal, progress towards that goal. That and when it should when every all these are compiled together, then you will find that uh, there is a greater output for the organization. He at that point of time he predicted that we will have a knowledge society, and today that knowledge society has arrived, and every IT worker is called as a knowledge worker. Safi in 1985 summarized what he thought were the main elements of strategic management theory. It involves adapting the organization to its environment. No, this is called later on also. Fredericks had talked about it, the ecology of the organization. It is fluid, and the environment is fluid and complex. Change creates novel combinations of circumstances requiring unstructured and non-repetitive responses. Herbert Simon had also talked about programmed and non-programmed decisions. Now, programmed decisions are routine decisions. Non-programmed decisions are meant to address these fluid and complex challenges for the organization. And now it affects the entire organization by providing direction. Uh, so, strategic management is both regarding the content and the process, strategy formation and strategy implementation. Safi told in 1985, you cannot just say that strategy formation should be 100% planned. Sometimes you have to address just an emergency situation. There, it is partially unplanned. It is done at several levels, both at the macro and micro levels. Something is done at the central government level, something is done at the local level. It involves both conceptual and analytical thought processes. The Mintzberg and Quinn re examined the process of strategic management. They concluded that strategy is a plan, strategy is an effort to outwit the competitor, strategy is a consistent pattern. mm, the past behavior realized rather than intended. Strategy as a position which is determined primarily by factors outside the firm. So, strategy is a response to external environment, strategy as perspective. So, it is primarily the work of the master strategist. In the 1970s, however, strategic planning was being widely applied. External events were still viewed as relatively stable. Schools of thought in strategic management. In the previous section, we discussed about who are the contributors to this strategic management idea. Now we will discuss about what are the schools of thought. The first schools of thought is perspective school. Thinkers in this school focused on the ways of formulating strategies rather than how they form in reality. Okay, so this is more in this is more in the nature of prescription rather than operation. So the design school in which comes the Selznick's work, who is the earliest thinker in this design school, who gave us the SWOT analysis: strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. Okay. Minberg and others critically analyzed the approach and found that it ignores the process of incremental learning and the emergence of strategy, fails to take into account the influence of the existing structure and culture of the organization, overemphasizes the role of the chief executive. It's questionable how far an organization can determine its own strength and weaknesses. Some third party should be engaged, which can give us an impartial under view of the organization by seeing its operation. Okay. Then comes the planning school. Under this perspective schools, first is the design school. The earliest thinker is Seljink, who we have discussed about the disadvantages of this design school. Then comes the planning school, and pla- the planning school in the school more on planning aspect of strategic management. The approach revolves around setting objectives, external audit, including external audit, industry analysis, competitor analysis, internal audit, including strength and weaknesses, strategy evaluation, scheduling in terms of time frame for each stage. Now, Mintberg critically examined this approach in his book, The Fall and Rise of Strategic Planning. Then the third school is the positioning school. Uh, Here, the viewpoint suggests that only few key or generic strategies are desirable in any given organization. The strategy should not be judged by internal organizational factors, uh, but by the way recipients of service see it relative to the competition. That means ଗୋଟେ ଅର୍ଗାନାଇଜେସନର ଷ୍ଟ୍ରାଟେଜିକୁ ଇଣ୍ଟରନାଲ ଅପରେସନରୁ ବୁଝିବା କଥା ନୁହେଁ, ରାଦର ଡେଲିଭରି ଅଫ୍ ସର୍ଭିସେସ୍ ଯାହାକୁ କରାଯାଉଛି, ଯେଉଁ ଲୋକମାନେ ସର୍ଭିସଟା ପାଉଛନ୍ତି ସେମାନଙ୍କର ନଜରିଆରେ ଏଇଟା କ'ଣ ସେଟା ବୁଝିବା ଦରକାର. So Mintberg's 1994 again summarized the features of this school as strategies are generic positions in a marketplace. Market is guided by economic rationality. Strategy formulation process is about selecting a generic position based on analysis. Analysts are key actors. Several techniques were applied to positioning theory, some newly invented but most borrowed from other disciplines. Now comes the descriptive schools. We discussed about the perspective schools. They are design school by Seljanik. They are planning school. They are positioning schools. Then there comes the descriptive schools. As compared to the prescriptive schools. Now, prescriptive schools, as I told you, they are more about uh, formulation of strategy rather than how they are implemented. Now, descriptive school uh, have in a prescriptive school there is a single person usually at the top position. Descriptive school gives the prime position to the visionary who could be gifted with abilities such as intuition, judgment, wisdom, experience, insight. This visionary could translate ideas into strategy around which strategic management revolved. The writings of this school can be traced back to 1930s to Schumpeter. The recent exponents of this school are Drucker, Kaplan, and Mintwerts. This school comprises the following approaches: the entrepreneurial school, vision is a central concept of this school. The individual leader is supposed to initiate the strategy formulation activities. The leader has a vision for the strategy. Strategy formulation is only partly a conscious process. It is basically unconscious process. The leader promotes the vision and keeps close control over implementation. Strategy is deliberate in all overall vision and emergent consequent to implementation. This is the entrepreneurial school, and leader is the main person who does it. Then the cognitive school. Proponents of the school emphasize the preeminence of strategizing minds. Strategies are credited with having idea of strategic cognition as a process of construction. They process the information from environment on the basis of their cognitive abilities. So let us see what are the features of this cognitive school. Strategy formulation is a cognitive process. It takes place in the minds of the leader who is a strategist. Strategies emerge as perspectives in the form of concepts, designs, schemes, and scenarios. uh, Information available to all, and it is deciphered differently by different strategists. The participating manager may contest these premises. Then the learning school. Strategy is seen as an emergent process by the thinkers in this school. Hamel and Prahalad conceive of strategy as a collective learning process aimed at developing and exploiting core competencies. They showed how important it was to know the one or two key things that the organization does better than competition. Uh, the school stressed that an organization emphasizing knowledge rather than finance and seeing itself as an ongoing community of human beings is an organic entity capable of learning and creating its own processes and goals. That means an organization who gives only on importance to finance and doesn't believe in enhancing the knowledge of each and every member of an organization, does not consider the organization as a social group or as a community of human beings capable of learning, then uh, the organization fail to develop its own processes and goals. So the contributors to the school are Mint Birch, James Brian, Quinn, and Senge. The premises of this, the features of this school are: deliberate strategy making is difficult due to complexity of environment. So mostly it is emergent. Strategizing involves a process of learning over time. Strategy making is not restricted to top management alone. Role of leadership is not to make strategy but to manage the process of strategic learning. Strategies first appear as logical incrementalism but gradually accepted by organizational actors as plans for future. So I hope this you can understand the learning school, where actually previously we had understood what is an learning organization. We had understood what is a learning organization, and uh, how the core competencies of the members of the organization have to be enhanced by giving them specific trainings, like uh, Chris Rodriguez has given us the idea of sensitivity training or T training. So that is how we can enhance the core competencies of the members of the organization. This school says that strategy is a deliberate work, deliberate action, because it is in response to the external environment. So mostly it is emergent. Strategizing involves a process of learning. Strategy is not an action only confined to the top management. It is confined to every level of management. Role of leadership is not to make strategy, but to manage the process of strategic learning. How others strategize and how this can be how this learning can be documented and institutionalized. Then comes the power school or political school. There are factors, this school says that there are factors beyond economic rationality which influence the functioning of organizations, which are referred to as power by this school. Now, who are what is the main feature of this school? Strategic formulation is shaped by power and politics. The strategies that result tend to be emergent as they take the form of positions rather than perspectives. Micropower enables strategizing by aligning interests of stakeholders. Use of macropower enables organization to achieve their objectives and controlling or cooperating with other organizations. So next, so I hope you understand the power school. The power school considers strategic formulation is an emergent activity. It is not a it is not a routine activity. Mm, so you cannot call it as a perspective. Uh, Micropower enables strategizing by aligning interest with the stakeholders. Uh, Macropower enables organization to achieve their objectives by controlling or cooperating with other organizations. Then the cultural school. Shared beliefs reflected in traditions and habits define the organizational culture. In Japan, the task of management is seen as managing the whole complex of human needs: economic, social, psychological, and spiritual. Herbert Simon had long back emphasized the importance of values in decision-making process. Further, others like Renman in 1973, Norman in 1977, Cotter and Hescott in 1992 has actually contributed to this cultural school. So, what is this? What are the features of this school? What are the premises of this school? What this school assumes? Shared values and beliefs of the members of the organization define the process of strategy formulation. I mean, the strategy formulation of an organization, why one organization is successful and the other organization is not. It is because strategy formulation cannot go beyond the shared values and beliefs of the members of the organization. Second is, these values and beliefs are acquired through interaction in the society and are usually in their subconscious. Third is, strategy is deliberate and takes the form of a collective perspective. So here strategy is not an emergent activity. Strategy is deliberate activity and it's a collective perspective in an organization. Then the next school is the environmental school. The thinkers of the school they assume that it is they consider it as a contingency theory. The environment holds the center stage in decision making. Organization either adapts to the environment or vanishes. Leadership is responsible for analyzing the environmental changes, and organizations exist till the conditions become too hostile. Then the next is the configuration school. Configuration school, the features of this configuration school is at a particular point of time, the organization has a stable configuration and structure that fits a particular context and gives rise to a particular strategy. So every strategy is situational or contextual. Changes in the environment induce transformation, uh, and there is another configuration or there is another strategy. There is a change in strategy. Transformations have a pattern or life cycle. Strategic management involves identifying the occasions for effecting transformation. The resulting strategies can take the form of plans, perspectives, patterns, or positions. Okay? Strategic management in public and private sectors. Boozman and Straussman offers a middle way that public management is most like private management at the operational level, least like it at the strategic level. So they argued that strategic public management is guided by four principles: long-term goals, integration of goals and objectives into a coherent hierarchy. Strategy is not self-implementing. External emphasis on anticipating and shaping environmental change rather than just responding to it. Ranson and Stewart in 1994 has point when we had that new public management approach. It said that how what is the difference between public sector strategic management and private sector strategic management. Public sector strategic management uh, public sector strategic management doesn't always face market choices. They have to provide services because of market failures. Reliance on public sector enterprises in India in the post-independent era was a strategic decision due to physical and financial incapacity of the private sector. Another example is that of provision of loans at concessional rates to poor people under priority sector lending. This may not be financially viable for banks, but it is a strategy for poverty alleviation. This practice is not adopted by the private sector. Public services managers are required to respond to voices raised in the policy arena and not necessarily to the logic of demand and supply. Many loss making you have to understand that public government cannot, government is a political concept, government just cannot ignore the voices of the people while making policy implementations. The four P's guide the selection of projects like purpose, process, place, and person. This was told by Luther Gulick long back. Many public sector enterprises were established in backward areas which did not make economic sense. Like today, we have IIM in Sambalpur. So naturally, to get uh, you know uh, important personalities to provide extramural lecture at Sambalpur IIM. Naturally, it's a costly affair. Had it been in Bhubaneswar, it would have been a much better affair. But however, we prefer that because we wanted to develop a backward area. Richard and Rodriguez argued that there are two types of strategies in public services. Type A, it is driven by centralized planning and control with specific direction for implementation. And second is, it is driven by market considerations. Strategic management in private sector attempts to bring drastic changes keeping in view the prevailing environment. Um, so they look So this is how you can make you can draw a difference between public sector strategic management and private sector strategic management. Let us discuss about strategic management process. The process consists of four pages: strategic assessment, strategic planning, strategic implementation, and performance evaluation. Uh, Strategic assessment, anticipating environmental change, this covers the target clientele, their value system, their aspiration labels, how they are organized, and the power they can exercise over the decision making process. This is something called step analysis: social, technical, economic, and political, anticipating environmental change in the social sphere, in the technical sphere, in the economic sphere, and in the political sphere. Uh, Technological developments may require alteration or altogether abandonment of organizational objectives. Okay, so third is economic aspect is we have to look into disparities in income and higher unemployment or reduction in the resource base. Political is includes international agreements, domestic legislations, political values. Then the second is strategic analysis. The second step in strategic assessment is to identify and focus on the core purpose of the organization. SWOT model, that's strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat model, provides direction and serves as a basis for the development of organizational plans. It accomplishes this by assessing an organization's strength, uh, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Strategic direction. The third step in strategic assessment is to determine the appropriate strategic directions in which the organization should head and what objectives to achieve. It creates a picture of desired future. Then we have the objectives of the strategic direction is to help to ensure that the organization visions and goals are compatible with the organization's capabilities and complement its culture, foster commitment, cooperation among stakeholders, maximize benefits inherent in environmental opportunities, and minimize the risks inherent in environmental threats. Okay. Uh, then the third is strategic direction. It is the and the fourth is strategic planning. After the strategic, in strategic assessment, we have three things: strategic, strategic assessment. We have three stages: anticipating environmental change. Second is strategic analysis, like we apply the SWOT model, and then we have strategic direction, where we see that whether the organizational capabilities are compatible with the are compatible where the organization vision and goals are compatible with the organization's capabilities and complement its culture, foster commitment and cooperation among stakeholders, and maximize the benefits inherent in environmental opportunities and minimize the risk inherent in environmental threats. So, the next part is strategic planning. After assessment, we have three phases. So, after assessment, we have to do the planning activity. The most popular technique is scenario planning. It deals with creating a range of scenarios to cover different situations in terms of favorability. Uh, you have contingency planning is another technique. We have probabilities of occurrence. So accordingly, we have to think about mm, so that the planning covers different situation in terms of favorability. You might have an optimistic scenario, you might have a pessimistic scenario, probability of occurrence. You might predict the probability of occurrence. So possible in the so it is highly necessary for the public management system to predict the to envision the future. So contingency planning is another technique which in a way supplement the scenario planning. So first is the scenario planning, second is the contingency planning, and third is the strategic choice. Making strategic choice is the final step in the planning. This choice is again guided by capacities of the organizations. Different organizations may respond differently. Then third phase of strategic management is strategy implementation. Now strategy formulation is over. Now we have strategy implementation. Involves executing the chosen strategy effectively and efficiently. So, what should we do? Allocation of sufficient resources, financial, human resources, and creation of infrastructure. Establishing a chain of command or structure to carry out tasks efficiently. Assigning, just I'm giving you an example. To have when we became a party signatory to the Millennium Development Goals, we decided to ensure health for all by 2015. So that was our goal, and our vision was to reach on this area and provide healthcare at the doorsteps. So to have this, we adopted a strategy that is. We accordingly we formulated the public policy and we adopted a strategy that is National Rural Health Mission (NRHM). Then how do we implement the strategy properly? So for that, we allocated sufficient resources, uh, provided finance, provided requisite infrastructure in every healthcare institution, and also provided uh, manpower. We established a chain of command means how the command should flow, and how the asa didi, the asa workers will get the command properly so that they can deliver the services at the doorstep. Assigning responsibility for specific tasks and processed it to specific individuals, like the NRHM assigned specific tasks to the ASA workers. At that point of time, our major aim was to reduce maternal mortality and infant mortality. So we enhanced that how the ASA workers should bring the expectant mothers to the hospital so that they should have institutional delivery, and that is how we can reduce maternal mortality. Implementing specific programs involves acquiring the requisite resources, developing the process, training, etc. Uh, Managing the process includes monitoring results, comparing them with benchmarks and best practices, evaluating the efficacy and efficiency of the process. Now, when we found that it is actually becoming beneficial for us, uh, we have now started, we have extended it to the urban areas, and we have national urban rural health and urban health mission. We have urban primary health centers, and now we have renamed this program as National Health Mission, having a rural component and a urban component. Then the last phase of the strategic uh, um, management is performance evaluation. Uh, we have to monitor use of resources by the organization, its efficacy. Monitoring and reporting system is continuous with periodic output reviewed by teams. The strategic management model, let us discuss about some strategic management models. Morrison Wilson in 1996 gave us a comprehensive strategic management model. It is given in your study material, where we have organizational assessment. From organizational assessment, we get the direction for strategic formulation, then we have strategic plans, then we implement it, we evaluate the implementation, then again we go for what changes it has brought in the organizational functionality. So again we make the organizational assessment, and then the process continues. So this is how the strategic management has been has developed as a topic in as a very vital topic in management. Now just listen to me. Strategic management is very dynamic. It is not a static concept. It keeps on the content of strategic management, like the educational content of strategic management keeps on changing, because every leader can be is a strategist, can give us a new methodology. So that is very important. Therefore strategic management is dynamic. It involves a complex pattern of actions and reactions. It is partially planned and partially unplanned, because the environment is in a continuous state of flux. It is continuously changing. Now, the organization must respond to the external environment, that is the ecology of the organization. Ecological approach tells us that. So, organization in the process of responding to the environment adopt certain strategies, and the strategy. So, new theories develop. The problems with most theories is that they become obsolete. They were just theories for yesterday's problems. So therefore every time we have new theories in strategic managements. Strategies are formulated both in public as well as private sectors, but there is a difference in the public sector environment and the private sector environment. Public sector just cannot think of profit. Public sector has different visions, like how can it tries to capture the people's voices and acts accordingly. It also tries to resolve inequality in the society. So, equity is a major concern of public administration or public system management. So, this is a difference in the strategic management of public sector and private sector. But however, strategic management process is quite comprehensive either in public sector or in private sector. It is organizational assessment, strategic planning, strategic implementation, and then evaluation of the strategy. Okay. So this is all about strategic management. Just keep in mind about the key concept like gap analysis, institutional pluralism, intellectual capital, knowledge worker, learning organization. So management by objective. MBO is a very, very important topic for long question and short question. Learning organization is also a very, very important topic for short question and long question. So you should keep it in mind. And what is the scenario analysis? You must uh, uh, keep this in mind. This is a process of analyzing possible future events by considering alternative possible outcomes and scenarios. That means, suppose we have the census. We had census in 2011. Till date, we do not have another census. So, what do? We just extrapolate the census. Economists extrapolate the census and they visualize the future. Accordingly, they uh, assess the possible outcomes and do the strategic planning. So this is called scenario analysis. So it is all about strategic management. Since there are no students in today's class, it is difficult on my part to know what are your doubts. So when you have a personal contact program, it is better to attend the classes. If you are not attending, you will not be able to clarify your doubts. Okay. Now I will wind up the class. Good night.